Isn't it more fun to be the victor than the victim? I think so.
See how these things might seem innocuous or even like vulnerable.
If you're a fan and you encounter me someplace, feel free to ask to make out. I'll probably do it.
It's because she lies and she gaslights her fans.
Keep it up. Keep making me money.
So as you've probably been able to tell, this is going to be a long one, so I just want to get something quick out of the way before we start. The Right Opinion and I finally got our podcast, Susan's Boys, up on Spotify, so links to that are going to be in the description below if you want to hear us flirt for an hour. We've done 3 episodes so far, but plan to go weekly from here on out. Probably, maybe, we'll see, at least. That's pretty much it. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and let's begin. You may remember a YouTuber named Nicole Arbor, and if you don't, lucky you.
Dear fat people, only one person can get you out of depression, and that is you. It's all in your head. It's all in our head. Oh no, I'm holding you accountable for your own feelings and for your own life. Did it come from psychos eating bats? Did it come from some Chinese booty hole licking orgy? Or are we all just realizing now that China is filthy?
The comedian slash YouTuber slash bottom feeder who has been repeatedly lambasted by the internet for her blunt and unfunny material directed towards fat people, women, those with mental disabilities, and just about any race of people you can think of. Now, there's a reason her career has plummeted in recent years, and it's not just on account of how blatantly uncreative she is. It's because Nicole Arbor displays a transparent, superficial attitude veiled in a thin layer of charm and charisma, an unflattering trait that probably won't get you very far in the entertainment industry. Because as much as content creators love to hide who they really are when the curtains close and the lights dim, a cold, smug frame of mind will do little to assist your journey into mainstream stardom, as any viewer with a half-functioning brainstem will be quick to see through the disgusting sense of self-importance so casually emulated through a computer screen, a cruel reality that Shallon Lester has yet to embrace.
He has anxiety, maybe because you're stuffing your body full of things like acid.
But maybe he's depressed. Oh, I'm so depressed.
Can a bad guy change?
I love you guys because you don't let me get away with shit.
Shallon Lester describes herself as a writer and YouTube personality who covers a wide range of topics on her channel. From dating advice to biting commentary on today's most prevalent A-list celebrities, her consistent uploads have collected tens of millions of views since 2008. So it's safe to say she's been on the scene for a long time. Whether it's sharing the most responsible advice on relationships.
What do you do when you can't just settle for one man? You have to have many, many men. Today, I'm going to teach you how to cheat and get away with it.
Or making educated assumptions on people who suffer from anxiety.
And the thing that I had a problem with Pete was not that he's bipolar, not great. Not that he's got borderline personality disorder, also not great. But that he doesn't care to fix any of it.
But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Who really is this glorified wine mom, and how has she managed to make so many people mad in such a short amount of time? For that, we're gonna have to start at the beginning. One thing to note about Shallon is her capability of fabricating information in general, as well as just her personal past. She doesn't exactly like people knowing her age, for example. It's why she's moved heaven and earth trying to hide the actual number of trips she's made around the sun. 39. She's 39 years old, despite claiming to be 35.
There's an interview that's still online where this interviewer calls her 28 in 2011. That would make her 37 right now, which is still older than the 35 we're getting, but still not the truth. We see that Shallon Lester graduated high school in 1999. So if she was really 35, that means she graduated high school at around 14, I think. The final proof of all of this is that Shallon herself confirmed on a Flickr photo on her account full of pictures of herself that Her 24th birthday occurred in the year 2005. Shallon Lester is 39 years old.
Weird, but it'll make sense later. She actually wrote a myriad of teen novels during her mid-20s, along with a memoir aptly titled X's and O's, a downtown girl's mostly awkward tales of love, lust, revenge, and a little Facebook stalking. Catchy. But it wasn't until 2010 when Shallon's career really took off, with her own MTV reality show, Downtown Girls. I really couldn't tell you the plot of this show because I really don't care, and neither did anyone else since it only got one season, which is fine because Shallon had a couple of day jobs lined up. Posting vlogs on an archaic blogging site, and writing a series of articles on glamour.com, in addition to working as an editor for a fringe magazine and a gossip columnist for another. This was, of course, in between filming these weird kissing tutorials for Howcast. She did a lot of these.
The key to giving a good kiss with a lot of tongue, ironically, is to be very sparing with how you use your tongue.
I mean, whatever pays the bills, I guess. Even if that includes her regular appearances on the Wendy Williams show.
And here with the dish is senior editor from Star Magazine. Give it up for Shady, Shallon Lester. Yes!
Get that bag, sis. But the highest point in her career, the magnum opus that she references in oh so many of her YouTube videos, is her esteemed title as an editor for Star Magazine. You know, those garbage tabloids you see near the checkout at Costco? Yeah, she kind of uses her former position at Star to justify any of the bizarre claims she happens to make against the celebrities she talks about on YouTube. If you haven't been able to tell by now, Shallon loves drama. In fact, it seems to find her wherever she goes.
Let's pull out the posters. The women of BTS. Look at these people. Look at this one. I don't know which one he is. You are an Asian man. You don't need to look like a girl named Ashley. Is it weird that I think Asian people should be allowed to look Asian? How do you guys tell these people apart?
Because Shallon has effectively dedicated her entire adult life to speculating about celebrities she's never met, it would appear she's adopted this weird, false sense of authority when it comes to providing commentary. And of course, when I say commentary, I mean unnecessary personal attacks masked as insider information.
I used to be the editor of Star Magazine, and so many of our stories were about Ellen and Portia, to the point that I was like, who the hell cares? Oh my God, who the hell cares? Peter Griffin voice. I can't stand Selena Gomez. Why? Not because she's got an autoimmune disease, not because she struggled with substance abuse issues and she continues to still drink and do drugs probably. It's because she lies and she gaslights her fans. So if you're here to be like, oh, leave Selena alone, bitch, she is alone.
Now that her job is strictly YouTube based, it would make sense that Shallon no longer has access to the sources she may have had working at Star.
Poor anorexic, long-suffering Portia. And what Ellen did to her allegedly, that was always so bad, was that she refused to let this woman have a baby. All she wants is just a baby. It's not like Ellen would have to carry it in her body, or even like, oh, I have to have sex with her to do it. Like, they could literally go out and purchase one, right? So the bar for clinical psychopathy is a score of 30 or higher. Ted Bundy scored a 39. So maybe she's not Ted Bundy level 39, but do you want to deal with someone who's even level 25? No.
And obviously, Ellen isn't the greatest person alive. I've got my own problems with her. But I don't know if that justifies such a bold assumption, especially when you point to absolutely zero evidence. Especially when there are real criticisms to be made on Ellen.
DeGeneres decided to hire non-union staff to oversee the lockdown shows. Out of all of her loyal crew members, only 4 were given work during the pandemic. This decision landed Ellen in hot water with fans who didn't understand why she would do this to people that have backed her tirelessly.
There's a lot to talk about, so it doesn't make much sense to pull something out of your ass so blatantly. But because Shallon is a sensationalist at heart, that's just the type of hyperbolic slander you're going to find throughout her catalog of repulsive content. Her videos as a whole suck, okay? She just rambles with no editing.
But where was I going with this? What was I talking about? boyfriend. So like I said,
how anyone is able to sit through this garbage is beyond me.
They call you fat. You're like, well, at least my mom's not an illegal immigrant. At least if I call ICE, they're not going to send my family back to whatever fucking country I came here.
But it's important to remember Shallon's roots. Shallon Lester is the embodiment of over-dramatized clickbait, riddled with exaggerated and even downright fabricated material. She's used to the world of libelous tabloid headlines normal people would just write off as fire kindling, a format that hasn't translated to YouTube as well as she may have hoped. Just going through some of these videos, I am shocked that she hasn't been sued by anyone yet.
I've heard from a very, very well-placed source that the reason she needs to have all of these kids is because she needs a child for every abortion that she had. And she had like 7 abortions. And so she feels like she owes life, God, whoever, like a baby to balance out her sins.
What? Where are you getting this? Like, I mean, I'd love to say Angelina Jolie adopts a child for every abortion she has. That'd be hilarious. But it's not grounded in anything. That's speculation. I could speculate that Shallon Lester has thirsted after men 10 years younger than her, but that doesn't make it true. I mean, it is true, but that's completely unrelated. And don't get me wrong, I speculate from time to time. I'm sure you do too. We all formulate our own half-baked hypotheses of the people we criticize. But the problem with Shallon isn't her assumptions, it's the narratives she attempts to create around rumors that stem from flimsy or otherwise non-existent sources. If her theory on Ellen DeGeneres, for example, turned out to be false, then any assertion she makes beyond that would fall apart.
I don't know enough about Ellen and her history because I don't fucking care.
She admits to not knowing enough about Ellen in a video devoted to the implication that Ellen is a psychopath. You see a problem here? More often than not, she seems to work backwards from her own conclusions, which may turn out to be a bigger mistake than Shallon realizes. But don't take my word for it. Hear what my flamboyant confidant has to say on the matter.
Friendship is based upon confidence.
Thank you, John. What a pleasure it is to be back on this channel. Boy, have I missed these aesthetic backgrounds. So, without further ado, we just get into it. I've been given the briefing that we are looking at Shallon Lester and some of her values. I'm aware that there's drama with her and was contemplating my own video eventually. But when we agreed, I actually didn't know a single thing about her. So when John sent me Exhibit A, one of Shallon's Evil Week videos, with the preface that I'd be using it as a springboard to draw some conclusions about her approach to creating this content, I was actually quite intrigued. I started contemplating the possibilities. Maybe she'd go full Machiavelli, revel in the evilness, with the appropriate and intellectual level of detachment that his doctrines contain, of course. Would she deliver on my heighty expectations?
But where was I going with this? What was I talking about? So like I said,
no. The video that introduced me to her was How to Cheat and Not Get Caught, a rather immoral concept on principle given that loyalty is one of the most valued aspects of a relationship typically. But you know what? It was Evil Week. Give me some of that evil, Shallon.
I know you guys are tired of getting manipulated. I hear it all the time. You're tired of getting cheated on. So is the answer to become the thing you fear and hate the most, a cheater? It can be.
5 minutes later.
But today, we're not going to talk about people cheating on us necessarily. We're going to talk about cheating on them. But I bring all this up because, look, if you're cheating to hurt your partner, just leave, girl. Literally, just leave. Just leave. Because ostensibly, you want to cheat and like not get caught. But if you want to cheat and get caught on purpose, you're going to play yourself because then you're the bad guy. So let's say your boyfriend is a shitbird and you really have legitimate reasons for getting revenge on him and like sticking it to him. If you go out and take up the mantle of the villain, you blow your position. You blow the only leverage you have. And victim mentality, you know, we talk about that usually on this channel. We're talking about good things and positivity, about how toxic victim mentality is and how much it sucks and how annoying it is for everyone around you. But it's real useful when your boyfriend sucks. You know, you have to hang on to that victim narrative. That's your power and that's your leverage, okay? But let's say you fall into the first category of cheaters I was talking about. People who just kind of like boys. That was always sort of my thing. Like, I love boys and I'm boy crazy and I have been since I was like 6.
Right, okay. This is a rather strange video. I think the first problem is that she just goes too far out of her way to justify what she's going to be talking about. For goodness sake, Shallon, it's Evil Week. The behavior is inherently unjustifiable. Just tell me how to be a bastard. And I think that's also what bothers me. By justifying it to the extent that she does, she's making it easier for the viewer to justify it in their heads.
So like I said, if you are just like, oh, you can't kind of resist. You're sort of like a kid in a candy store. Maybe you're studying abroad. Maybe you guys are like in a long distance relationship. Maybe you love him, but he works a lot and you're just like, I don't know, I just really like making out with boys. Okay. First of all, keep your goddamn mouth shut.
It's like she's tacitly endorsing the behavior as a sometimes necessary outcome of circumstances, despite acknowledging that its basis is personal greed. This part isn't even evil, it's just really pathetic horniness. She then assumes the position as your personal infidelity coach, continuing to write off all those weird friends you have with their pesky moral compasses.
You think you know your friends and you think they're loyal to you, but people have very different morality in terms of cheating. First of all, I wouldn't dime my friends out to God herself. Like, I keep their secrets forever. And we got a lot of them. But like, some people are not like that. Like, some people who come from a family where dad cheated on mom, and if they see cheating, it's like, it's like a Vietnam flashback. Like, they cannot handle it. They will sell you out. So it's really, really important to keep your crimes on the down low. Loose lips sink ships.
For this sort of content to even remotely work, you have to accept that you are the scumbag. If you go out of your way to justify the actions too much, it looks like you're moreover insecure about your character, which Shallon may well be. She admits herself she has cheated multiple times, and I appreciate her transparency, but her personal investment really taints whatever entertainment value this video would have. For example, Shallon tells people that if they're cheating on their significant other, they should keep their mouth shut because of those moral compasses. But then she goes off on a tangent about how people aren't entitled to full transparency, something which, yes, is true, but isn't really a justification for the former statements.
You also need to keep it quiet from your boyfriend. And I know that sounds obvious. But I get a lot of messages from you guys where it's like, my boyfriend dumped me, or we were on a break and I went to a club and made out with this guy and I feel so guilty because now we're back together. Should I tell him? I'm like, no, No. Transparency is baloney. Transparency is capitulation of control. I don't tell anybody everything. Certainly not a boy that I'm dating. Are you out of your mind? I didn't even tell my husband everything. I never told my husband how old I was. I mean, he figured it out, but like, that to me is information I don't like to share. I would rather like share my pap smear results. That's just, and that's me, and that's my line in the sand, you know? And like, you have the right to have your own information stay within you. When you go out with a guy, you don't have to tell him your whole history. You don't have to tell him that like you were married or what. No one is owed access to your stories, okay? And certainly not your boyfriend.
People who do shitty things wouldn't admit to them, not because of the sister slay attitude of you not having to answer to no man or woman. They don't admit to it because they'd lose out on the benefit of doing that shitty thing, or because they don't think that someone would understand it. However, not satisfied with just telling you how to keep it on the DL, she just goes full into how to be an awful person, period.
But, and this is truly evil. This is evil. Are you guys ready for it? You got to start gaslighting him. That is the tool of a cheater. And so we are used to seeing gaslighting as like a guy calling you crazy, but really it is anyone who tells you that you are not observing what you are very much observing, right? So it can come in a lot of forms. I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of this. It's no, like it comes in a lot of forms. So try to employ it in as many different subtle and amorphous ways as you can, right?
And that's the thing. This isn't someone who's horny due to a boyfriend who isn't around enough. This is something much worse. So after planting the seed that someone could mess around because their spouse is working all the time, she's now talking about tactics which are true to the word evil. But the way she creates a slippery slope to logically justify the actions is absolutely foul. If you want to give your thoughts on how to be an evil bastard, okay, do it. But don't blur the lines between the two, because otherwise you're deceiving people into thinking they have justification to do something much worse than you may present it. Make sure you define the circumstances from the specific action or response. But Shallon doesn't, and therefore if you're watching the video, you will probably end up feeling rather uncomfortable.
Why were you talking to Garrett up in the pool for 2 hours? What were you guys doing? I'm like, we were literally doing nothing. You were at work. I don't know. That's because they're doing something bad. And when people are criminals, they see crime everywhere, right? So if your boyfriend starts to get suspicious, or even before he does, start to gaslight him. This is evil. Like, this is giving me a sick feeling in my chest because I don't like telling this.
With Shallon's personal investment, the video just comes across as a complete failure. To fans who idolize her inserting herself into these situations may make otherwise untenable positions seem more justifiable to them. But to people who don't, it just makes Shallon's actions and behaviors seem incredibly objectionable, which is where the majority of audience consensus lies. Though this is post-stigma. But it's okay, guys. She just wants to prevent you from being cheated on.
But again, I want you to use this to spot people like this in your life. I don't want you to go out and cheat on people because, like I said, it splits you into two. It's really hard on yourself. And society doesn't love a cheater. That's not a fun thing to have to admit to other people or to yourself. It isn't. Like, you don't sleep great at night being like, I've cheated on people who trusted me. It's awful. It's awful. And it's awful to be cheated on, you know? But at least when you're cheated on, you're the victim. When you're the cheater, you're the bad guy.
She mentions this at the start of the video and at the end, as if it's this cushion for what she's talking about. And if this was her genuine intention, then this was the wrong way to do it. There was a show called The Real Hustle, which I used to watch growing up. It was pretty damn entertaining, and it would show people how scams worked by carrying them out on the unsuspecting public. As well as this, it held the narrative that the purpose of these demonstrations was so that people could identify them in real life. Now, I always found this justification kind of sketchy, but I could at least understand it because a lot of these scams relied on technical details that could be identified detached from the realm of personal perception, and it was presented from a third-party perspective.
So this is what I mean, because scheduling is a big shift in terms of behavior. It's like she doesn't come home now, and like I don't know where she goes after school, and blah, blah, blah. So you want to sign up for like two things. Say one's like a pottery class. Okay, you're doing pottery like every day after work. Then you're going to be like, oh, I'm also doing like CrossFit, and like it's hard to get in. So sometimes the only classes are like 8 to 9. It's so annoying. And actually do that so that there's plausible, there's a realism to your lies. You're coming home, you're sweaty or whatever. It's like your body's changing. You can like give normal, accountable details because you're actually there.
The problem is that, as Shallon notes herself, the key to cheating successfully is to make your behaviors appear as ordinary as possible, to give your partner as little cause for suspicion. I know it's part of the branding for Evil Week, but if you really want to help people, you have to be quite specific regarding identifying this sort of behavior. Otherwise, you're just promoting unhealthy relationship paranoia, especially for what could be normal conduct, such as taking up a new pastime or preventing someone from overreacting to a situation. She's going halfway to try and say, oh well, there is actually a moral purpose for this video, and it just seems incredibly disingenuous. Like, sis, it's Evil Week. If you feel bad about inspiring people to do shitty things, then don't make the damn video. If you want to help someone identify gaslighting, then you have to cater to their perspective rather than speak about it generally from the point of a cheater/abuser.
I am only a mirror. I am not the problem. I didn't start the fire, okay? I am just like warming my hands next to it.
making money off of it. Sorry.
This video was such a bizarre viewing. In attempting to cover every angle, Shallon pretty much manages to fail on all fronts and make herself seem completely inept and morally bankrupt in the process. It's almost an achievement in itself. But that's the problem when you don't actually have professional experience in understanding human behavior, and you instead rely on basic methods of gossip. It's less Machiavelli, more Milli Vanilli. As in total fucking fraud. After watching a few more uploads, I think you can diagnose a pretty apparent problem. Shallon Lester has a gossip approach to discourse that is well beyond her depth, and despite clearly not having the depth, tries to create a greater motive in attempt to justify otherwise below average and sometimes downright obscene narratives.
Now, normally on this channel, we break down celeb scandals and we talk about positivity, self-confidence. But Eva Week is going to be a little bit different. This week, we're going to talk about how to get really good at being really bad. How to weaponize the dark arts of femininity to get ahead, get what you want, and insulate yourself from people who are going to hurt you. It's time to turn the tables. Right, ladies? Aren't you tired of being manipulated, oppressed, lied to, bamboozled, and conned and swindled? I am. And all we need is in here.
Like, what are these videos meant to be? Cautionary or empowering? I don't think Shallon knows. I think she's just talking out of her ass. Now, the Eva Week videos are a bit off-brand, not because of how she approaches the topics, but because normally she'll talk about celebrity gossip and then attempt to explain some sort of phenomena from it. Which brings us to Exhibit B, her video on the Brangelina relationship. However, as you'll see in the title, she also intends to use the situation as an exemplar to explain why men cheat.
Well, today's the day. We're finally going to tackle a topic you guys have been begging for forever. Brangelina. Not just Brad and Angie, but Jennifer Aniston too. And not just the dirt, because you know I got it as a gossip editor. We're going to talk about what makes a man cheat in the first place.
Once again, we're thrown into this very weird gossip cycle, and I think the key word here is assumption. Shallon Lester's content is built around the concept of assumptions. In this video, the titular assumption is that Brad Pitt cheated on Jennifer Aniston. Now, it's not impossible that it occurred, as Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt worked on the film Mr. and Mrs. Smith at that time, and many observed the chemistry between the two. However, Angelina denied these claims pretty vehemently at the time, stating that although she had fallen for Brad, they did not have any deeper romantic involvement while Brad was still with Jennifer, due to our own personal history of marriage within her family. In commentary, we would typically provide benefit of the doubt, while acknowledging the theoretical possibilities. But with gossip creators, it's fun to assume the most dramatic scenario. A lot of people do this from Shallon's community, which is understandable, but Shallon tends to go one step further. She tends to appeal to a self-asserted authority as a gossip guru who has all this tea behind the scenes. She never cites any proper sources, but her fans put their faith in her because she's been on the front line, such as the Star magazine. Oh, and she even went on the Wendy Williams show.
And then along comes Angie, this like goth, tit, lip, sex princess, just like vials of blood, fucking in the limo and cutting herself and drugs. Like she was just like this hot topic pageant queen, and people were like repelled by her but fascinated, and I think that's why people are still so into her, because America loves to hate Angelina Jolie, like, which I always thought was really weird. Like I love her and I identify with her. She's like the wild woman I wanted to be. And can we talk again about that body? Oh, Lord have mercy. Turn a gay man straight, that figure. Unreal.
After assuming these things as self-proclaimed truths, she would typically go on to ask more implicative questions about human nature, typically relating to the psychology of relationships and distinctions between gender roles. However, the problem is that if these premises that Shallon presents aren't actually true, then they cannot be used to build further assumptions off. The whole Brangelina video is based on the assumption that Angelina had this huge bad girl reputation at the time, which, although true throughout the start of her Hollywood career, was not necessarily true at that point. By that time, she'd taken up her position as a UN envoy and been highly active in international diplomacy, which brings into question Shallon's recall of certain events.
And there were all these rumors that they were flirty and hooking up, and I remember she gave an interview, and she was like in her, like, slumped back in the chair in that, like, sort of, macho, sexy way that she does, and she's like, I have plenty of lovers, I don't need Brad. I was like, oh, look, I got tingles. I was like, that woman is a witch, like in a cool way. Like that is a sorceress don't leave your man around her.
Now, I couldn't find this clip anywhere. I did find one where she sat in a chair quite loosely, but she doesn't talk about her relationship with Brad. Doesn't mean the clip doesn't exist, but it just seems somewhat implausible that she'd say something like that with the tone that Shallon depicts. However, if you wanted to go one step further, you could look at a comment like this.
It's kind of a standard that we accept that, well, maybe we don't accept it, but we should, that our partners, no matter who they are and no matter what they're doing, will only ever give us 80% of what we need, right? The other 20% has to come from our own hobbies, our friends, our families, our self-esteem, and then there just might be 5 or 10% of needs that you just kind of never get met in your life. And those needs can change, probably, but that is sort of the human experience, right? But then someone comes along, embodying that 20%. And the guy's like, oh my God. And he's so focused on the 20% that he isn't getting that he sees this 20% woman and he assumes, he's so blinded by it, he's like, she's 100%. She's 100%. But really, he actually leaves that 80, only ends up with 20. Now, their relationship's a little bit more complicated. We'll get into it. But what was that 20%? I know you're probably thinking sex. Yeah, he just wanted all this crazy, wild sex. Yeah, I mean, that's what got him through the door. But what made him stay? Children. Jennifer Aniston did not want to have children. She said this a billion times. And yes, our magazine put on the cover, she's pregnant, adoption joy. And I was always like, please don't do this. It's just leave the woman and her womb alone. She doesn't want kids. It's fine. She's a whole person without children. Who cares? Well, Brad Pitt cared.
So after referencing a rather unscientific relationship hypothesis which should not be confused with the Pareto principle, Shallon states that Jennifer Aniston didn't want to have children. Another claim that Jennifer Aniston has denied herself in a specific interview about the deterioration of her marriage with Brad Pitt. In fact, when it was brought up, she was insulted at the insinuation that children was the reason. So she appears to have not said this quote a billion times, and it seems she wasn't saying it at that point in time. Now, Jennifer Aniston's relationship with children is certainly a difficult one, and the strange media obsession over why she remains childless is one that she has said mixed signals on. But there are also sources that state she is considering children, so this is barely definitive. Yet Shallon would not have you think that. What Shallon does is she'll start with a basic observation, so this one being that Angelina Jolie has children and Jennifer Aniston doesn't. Assume the observation has meaning, and then construct a scaffolding of insight, intel, and hypotheses, most of which relies on your own trust in her as an authority figure. That trust is stretched more and more until she's creating inexplicable and borderline offensive theories.
Do you know why Angelina needs to have so many kids? This is wild. I'm going to blow your mind right now. I've heard from a very, very well-placed source that the reason she needs to have all of these kids is because she needs a child for every abortion that she had. And she had 7 abortions. And so she feels like she owes life, God, whoever, a baby to balance out her sins. It's not a sin. It's your body. You can do whatever you want. It's worth bringing a child in this world that you don't want and won't take care of.
What? Then to complete the arc, she'll insert a very weak, tenuous theory and overstate its credibility and create an additional point of meaning around that.
How does this affect why guys cheat, right? Because we have to be so careful. Okay, I read a lot about cheating. I've read a lot of psychological studies. I actually read one recently, and they said overwhelmingly, scientists and psychologists agree that people cheat to feel alive. And to explore different sides of their own personality, right? And when you look at Angelina through that filter, this whole thing makes complete sense. Who would make you feel more alive than a woman who's giving birth in Namibia? That is living, who's choppering into Cambodia, plucking out an orphan. That's wild. Who's screwing in a limo and wearing your blood. If you ask a woman how we define a guy that's intellectually stimulating, he's intellectually stimulating. What does that mean? It basically means the same thing to all of us, right? We would all kind of define it the same way. He's smart, he's well read, he has lively conversation, he asks thought-provoking questions, blah, 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 right? You ask a man, what does it mean if a woman is intellectually stimulating? You know what it means? She withholds her time. That's what it means. And that does not change man to man to man. That is what it means. And they might not even be able to articulate it as such, but they'll say something like, she's mysterious, she's hard to get, she's busy, she's, she's fascinating, she's a bit of an enigma. That is intellectually stimulating to them. They like a puzzle. They like to chase because they are hunters.
Who are men? I'm a man, but you ask me what makes a woman stimulating, I'd probably say her ability to have sharp, witty banter, because I'm not sexually attracted to women, first of all. I don't think that makes me any less of a man, Shallon. The level of reductionism in her theories is flummoxing. These are theories to appeal to wishful thinkers who want the world to be as simple as Shallon presents it. But the simple truth is, a one-size-fits-all theory will never suffice. For the record, there's only one thing that psychologists overwhelmingly agree on in this area, and that's that there are a variety of reasons for why people cheat, which will be dependent on multiple variables inside and outside the relationship, and the most scientific way is to measure those variables. Does this mean that people don't cheat to feel alive? Of course not. Some people do, but women do it to feel alive as well. Such reasoning like this isn't gendered, and with the weakness of information that Shallon presents here, she has very little grounding to try and apply it to a relationship that she clearly does not know enough about. However, like last time, she's wrapping it in her own personal investments.
I mean, I cheated on boyfriends and I'm not proud of it, but I have, and it's hard for me to be not monogamous, because that really isn't the hard part. I get bored easily, and then it's you have this concept of feeling alive and having that stimulation and exploring other parts of you. And my boyfriend now, we've been together for a while, and it's I don't get bored with him, partly because he is just, but that's kind of good. It's better for me to have a little drama in a relationship because that keeps me focused on it a little, than to be bored. Because a bored woman, deadly.
Now, do I think you can't have your own theory? No, have a blast for all I care. But Shallon creates these realities where her theories work and then declares them with the level of conviction which would make you think that they are the only valid theory. Yet they only work if you accept every single thing that Shallon says as true. However, most of her assumptions are flimsy at best. It's Alice in Wonderland logic. The truth is, there are many reasons why Brad and Jennifer may have broken up, reasons that Brad and Jennifer may not have disclosed and may not even understand themselves. And acting like you've cracked a psychological pattern when it's built on so many conditionals that may not even be true makes your content basically worthless. However, it's Brad and Angelina, it's a somewhat speculative situation. People will indulge in wacky theories. However, one thing that it does say is that Shallon is an unreliable narrator. And what happens if her representations go a bit too far? Well, that's what leads us to Exhibit C, the catalyst, the Ellen DeGeneres video. One of the videos that has catapulted her questionable recollection of details into the public eye.
But here's some things that I know about Ellen. She is so mean to that wife of hers. And this is what we would focus on. Not that oh, she's a monster behind the scenes. We did do stories like that, but we would focus heavily on her relationship with Portia. And poor anorexic, long-suffering Portia. And what Ellen did to her allegedly, that was always so bad, was that she refused to let this woman have a baby.
In this upload, Shallon makes a series of completely baseless and borderline defamatory claims against Ellen, probably aware of the recent criticism that she's been receiving, and hoping that people won't research or challenge her various assertions.
She does nothing. They probably have a billion servants and cleaning ladies. She's not cleaning the house. She's probably not cooking the dinner. All she wants is just a baby. It's not like Ellen would have to carry it in her body, or even I have to have sex with her to do it. They could literally go out and purchase one, right? It'd be very easy for them to acquire a child to keep her wife happy. And she just wouldn't do it. And Portia would move out and storm out and then move back in. And it was just, I'm sure it still is, this extremely tempestuous relationship, because you have one person who is essentially a tyrant, right? This is my way. This is the highway. You're not making any fucking money, are you? No. So I make the rules. Doesn't that sound like kind of, Don Draper Mad Men? It's that's cute. You have an opinion, but that's actually all it is.
Once more, Shallon constructs a reality. However, this one is a much more cynical one and separated from any realm of rationale. There is not one citation or source for her claims throughout the video, and many sources which allege to the contrary bring into question how much she really knows. I'll say that some of her other stories probably did happen, such as the Mariah Carey one where there is verifiable footage, despite Shallon not using it. And although possible cause for criticism on Ellen's behalf, the context is uncertain as to Mariah's own knowledge of the gag. The only other material appears to be in the form of tweeted testimonies, and although they shouldn't be written off on their own basis, because Shallon's presented these debatable premises that reveal Ellen in a negative light prior to the tweet and presented them as the truth, it will unjustly bias someone's judgment of Ellen and cause them to lend more assumed credibility to further allegations than they may warrant. I can't help but feel maybe Shallon actually springboarded her own statements off the tweet and placed them at the start of the video to frame it conversely. Does this mean the tweets aren't true? Of course not. People can make their own judgment on them. But Shallon sells the insider scoop as if she knows what's going on and she's sharing that enlightenment with you, and all it reveals about Ellen's psychopathy.
They lack remorse or guilt. They have shallow affect, like a reduced emotional response, just kind of blank behind the eyes. They're callous with a lack of empathy. A parasitic lifestyle. They feed off of other people, right? Poor behavioral controls, promiscuous sexual behavior, early behavioral problems, lack of realistic long-term goals, impulsive, irresponsible, failure to accept responsibility for one's own actions. Remember that one. Many short-term marital relationships, juvenile delinquency, criminal versatility. Now, as we go through these examples for Ellen, she's not going to hit some of these. She's probably not a criminal mastermind. She might be. I don't think she was a juvenile delinquent. She doesn't seem promiscuous or impulsive. She seems like she has long-term goals, right? But there's other things that you're like, oh, fuck. So maybe she's not Ted Bundy level 39, but do you want to deal with someone who's even level 25?
In my opinion, she doesn't know much. Look at the Evil Week videos. They failed because she lived through the theories that she created herself. There was no distance, despite the acknowledgement that it was deplorable behavior. A lot of the time, she seemed to be giving you pally advice on how to screw up your relationships. It's the same with these videos. She's living through her content, and in the land of the blind, the one-eyed Shallon is queen. This is a reality that she wants to create, rather than the one that we actually live in. And you can do you, sister, but the moment that you start asserting it as an unconditional verity, then the power you hold as an influence with such claims could be legitimately damaging. Whether it's her dubious psychology advice or her unsubstantiated claims regarding celebrity behavior delivered with an unwarranted stench of certainty and authority. However, Shallon's authority can only propel her so far, and unless she has the sources to back her claims up, then they're as good as mud to me. She likes to retain this aura of someone who's so confident in the information they're relaying. But confidence doesn't equal truth. It just means a few less questions until someone raises concern with what you're saying. Shallon Lester's Ellen video is one of the worst examples, but it's also one of many. If she's really prepared to make such idle statements as soon as it becomes cool to hate someone, then I wouldn't put my faith in her narratives. She seems to be someone providing pseudo-intellectual gossip videos on who has done what and what it can really tell us. But all it tells me is she may not know quite as much as she professes. Back to you, Jawbury.
Alright, that was fun. Thanks for taking a break from all the sex to help me out, James. Be sure to check out his channel if you haven't, though I'd imagine you're already well aware of the Right Opinion's infamy. At this point in time, we've established Shallon's less than credible track record of mind-numbing statements, as well as her complete and utter lack of a moral compass. Not like that matters to me, of course. Shallon can be as bad of a person as she wants. Go for it, ma'am. The biggest problem to me is the way in which she makes unreliable and otherwise fickle assumptions appear as the inexplicable truth. As James has already touched on, Shallon's Ellen video is just one of the many examples of this leech taking an observation, pumping it full of rumors, stretching it to fit a wider narrative, and feeding it to her gossip-hungry fan base. If Ellen really cared, she could probably string together a legal team. But let's be honest, the notion of Ellen being a bad person is hardly a dangerous one. I doubt any accusation so innocuous as any skin off Ellen's plastic Botox-filled nose. If anything, it proves how little Shallon's opinion should matter to a general public. Take her commentary with a grain of salt, move on with your day, and nobody gets hurt. Unless you're outwardly blaming a victim for things they can't control, in which case we're crossing into some dangerous territory, Shallon.
Pete is like his own special kind of douche, but we'll break it down why. Because the things that are wrong with him are never going to change, and I think he's an excellent example of a male victim. And typically, especially on this channel, we've talked a lot about like female victims. Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, people like that who get their entire identity from their perceived and created self-victim hood and mythology.
So right off the bat, Shallon is already categorizing Pete Davidson's mental issues as self-victimization, which is a pretty bold assertion to make at the 1 minute and 20 second mark, Shallon, especially when you haven't even said why you feel that way, but whatever. Okay, well, let's listen to what she has to say. She stated her conclusion. Now let's see her attempt to work backwards from the idea that this random celebrity is now using a mental disorder as a way to victimize himself, as she calls it.
We always knew Pete was a mess. I've done a lot of videos about him, why Ariana was drawn to him given her own daddy issues, stuff like that. And the thing that I had a problem with Pete was not that he's bipolar, not great, not that he's got borderline personality disorder, also not great, but that he doesn't care to fix any of it.
So this is a pretty weird thing to say. First of all, I have no idea what she means by his bipolar disorder being not great. I guess she either doesn't think he has it at all, or she thinks he's using it to his advantage by not working to better himself. Which takes us to her next assertion that he doesn't care to fix any of it.
So we're gonna break down, first of all, his recent interview with Charlemagne the God, T-H-A, you know how I hate that, you know I hate bad grammar. I wanna do a whole video series on celebrities. I'm just gonna call it Your Name, ? Why? ?
Your name is Shallon Lester, ma'am. Sorry, I know that's completely unrelated, but I don't think this woman is in any place to be mocking somebody's name.
Okay, here's some things he said. He is sober at the moment because he needs to be clean in order to be diagnosed, and to be diagnosed with things like bipolar and borderline personality disorder. And his doctors are always adjusting his medication. I mean, for bipolar, you can't be medicated for borderline personality disorder because it's your personality. There's no like cool pill. And so he goes to rehab when he feels like he's going a little bit too far, you know, so that he can clean out and then get adjusted, like have his meds adjusted. So he's going to rehab in service of getting more drugs. That's what that means. I go to rehab so I can con my doctors into giving me more drugs. I don't think if he was doing a lot of extracurricular recreational drugs, he would have to keep getting his prescription drugs adjusted so frequently. They would probably just work because the baseline body they were working in would be a constant. It wouldn't be like meth, Molly, cocaine, beer, 24 natty lights. It would be like vegetables, food, yoga, meditation, smooth sailing.
Now, from the research I've done on bipolar disorders, finding the right medication can almost be like a trial and error situation. It can take a significant period of time to find what works for you. With the disorder itself varying by person, so does the medication. So it's only natural that your prescription would fluctuate depending on numerous factors. Self-management is important, of course, but even if you take the necessary steps to regulate your day-to-day life, it's still extremely common for your meds to be adjusted at some point in time, either because your symptoms change or your body builds up a tolerance. It doesn't have to mean you're abusing substances, Shallon.
I was a cutter. I was a cutter for a while, for a few years, and it is truly one of the most shameful chapters in my life. That's how we cutters feel. We feel ashamed of ourselves. You feel ashamed of yourself if you were bulimic. And I don't just like speak about it, and I wouldn't just speak about it to Charlemagne the God when I don't believe Charlemagne asked. I don't think that's on his like typical list of questions. Who's your celebrity crush? Any fun plans for the summer? You ever cut yourself?
Yeah, he did ask. Literally. Literally.
What does cutting look like?
Just based off this one massive mistake, I would have to assume she probably only read about the interview instead of watching it. Of course, she's also invalidating Pete's testimony by tying her own outlook on cutting to his. Now, it's fine to speak from a place of personal experience, but it's another thing to give your own perspective on cutting before assuming that his perspective is anything close to yours, especially when you still refuse to show any kind of clip to back it up.
For him to say he's only slept with 5 or 6 women, I don't know, dude. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. What is your definition of fast lifestyle? It's probably sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You'll do any drug you can get your hands on, but you won't do any woman you can get your hands on? Baby boy, that should be inverted. Like, that should be inverted. He tells anyone caught standing still that his dad died in September 11th, and I think he was about 6 years old at the time. The victim narrative, that's part of the victim narrative. And Pete, on one hand, like, idolizes his mother and his sister, but he's got borderline personality disorder. So something bad happened in that house.
So again, prime example of Shallon lumping several assumptions together to push a narrative that Pete is somehow a drug-addicted slut who is using his mental disorders as a victimization tactic. In order for her conclusion to even fit here, the what-if parts of her theory would have to all ring true. And that's a lot of what-ifs.
He has suicidal thoughts, but insisted he would never commit suicide because he has a mom and a sister and doesn't want to hurt them. You know what him bringing that up smacks of to me? Revenge. If you're not going to commit suicide, if that's just like not on the table, why would you even bring it up? When people threaten suicide, truly there's nothing more disgusting to me because they're holding people in their lives hostage. And I'm not saying if you have suicidal thoughts, you're disgusting. No, it's the people who threaten it. If you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. If you don't do this, I'm going to kill myself. Fuck you. Fuck you. Go to rehab, get some help. But oh no, I'd never do it though. I'd never do it.
Obviously, I understand there are people out there who use suicide to manipulate those in their lives into doing whatever it is they want them to do, hanging the threat of killing themselves over their loved ones' heads. It happens, and it's bad every time, but as per usual, Shallon has nothing of substance to support what she's saying. At the end of the day, you're invalidating a man's suicidal thoughts on account that he didn't go through with it, as if the only reason he stopped himself was because he wanted revenge.
The drugs he uses are marijuana, shrooms, and acid. Shrooms and acid can really mess your brain up. I mean, acid especially. I mean, it can like permanently alter your brain chemistry. And when you already have bipolar and your brain chemistry is already not exactly where you want it, does that seem wise? That's why he has to keep having his meds adjusted, because he's fucking with his brain.
Yeah, her views on psychology are surprisingly one-dimensional for a video that revolves around a supposed deep dive into Pete's mental state, but I'm sure you've realized that by now.
So he brings all this up for victimhood, for identity, for manipulation, for terrorization. Do you have someone like this in your life?
The point of the interview was for Pete to open up about his personal life and share a side of him that's normally overlooked by the public eye. Discuss things you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to touch during an episode of SNL or a comedy set, but you keep speaking under the assumption that nobody asked, and that Pete is somehow asserting a level of victimhood by simply answering the questions Charlemagne asks, further delegitimizing his condition and confirming many of the fears people with mental disorders already have in the process, all to justify an absurd narrative that Shallon has already deemed legitimate in her own head. If you watch enough of Shallon's content, which believe me, I have,
how in the hell does someone like Kanye, who I have heard from many sources smells, pull a chick like Kim Kardashian? I mean,
you'll start to notice some peculiar hallmarks. And I'm not talking about her voice, which sounds like the auditory equivalent of kicking a wall with a toothpick under your toenail. I'm talking about her apparent disdain for singer-songwriter Selena Gomez. Sorry, I mean Whisper Goose, or something.
You know, we call her the Whisper Goose because that's what her music sounds like. I'm a goose and I whisper. I think I'd rather fight Selena Gomez than a goose. Because geese have that dew claw. you know, right there, they can swipe. Selena doesn't have that. She just has a bunch of bad tattoos.
Gonna be honest, I don't like Selena Gomez either. I think it's fair to say her career peaked at age 9 with her role on Barney alongside Demi Lovato. I'm not exactly a fan of hers.
Mick.
But I don't have anything personally against the woman either, unlike Shallon seems to have.
I can't stand Selena Gomez. Why? Not because she's got an autoimmune disease, not because she struggled with substance abuse issues and she continues to still drink and do drugs probably. It's because she lies.
Which, fair enough, you know, have your gripes, Shallon. But it's interesting to me how passionate she is about this single individual. I've never met Shallon, and although I don't like her much, as evident by this video, I wouldn't wish any harm on her, and I definitely wouldn't go so far as to say this about her.
Selena, I just, you know, I could probably help you. I'm not going to because you annoy me and bore me at the same time, which is a deadly combination.
Just a tad uncalled for.
When she overdoses, and she will, y'all can thank yourselves because you didn't hold her accountable for shit. It was, leave her alone, everyone else is lying. Do you honestly think that that's helpful? Have you never watched an episode of Intervention?
In between the bizarre personal attacks, Shallon manages to almost entirely dismiss the nature of Selena's bipolar disorder, combining a myriad of assumptions to push the narrative that Selena is using her recent diagnosis as an excuse for questionable behavior, pretty much based on nothing.
I discussed that after years of going through a lot of different things, I realized that I was bipolar.
I recently realized I'm bipolar. Realized. Did you go to medical school, Selena? I didn't realize that you were actually a rheumatologist or a psychiatrist. I thought you were a pop star. Did you go to the Mickey Mouse Club School of Medicine? Stumbling on the red carpet. She's in the audience, like, making these weird faces, clapping. And on stage, she didn't look sober. This is the gaslighting. If you took her out of the AMAs and dropped her into a Trader Joe's and she was acting like that, I'd call security. I was like, can you get her away from the cauliflower gnocchi? She is drunk. I don't want her touching the cauliflower gnocchi with her drunk little child paws. There's a drunk 9-year-old in a bunch of makeup and heels in a BB dress staggering around Trader Joe's.
But you know what? Let's say Selena is lying about her drinking habits. Let's give Shallon the benefit of the doubt here and say that her assumptions are accurate. Do you think Selena is using her diagnosis as an excuse to drink? Or do you think it'd be more of a coping mechanism? Because although there's little to no evidence supporting either of those theories, Shallon immediately assumes the worst and runs with it.
How do you deal with people who always have an excuse for why they're acting the way they are? But that excuse never involves responsibility. It never involves personal accountability. It never involves, you know what? I acted like that because I was an asshole. Nope. It was, well, I was acting like this because I had lupus, and then it was alcohol, and then it was a panic attack, and then it was anxiety, and then it was bipolar. What's next? You an Iraq war veteran? What's going on?
Almost like she has a personal vendetta against Selena and is looking for any excuse as to why she could be considered a bad person. She uses mere speculation as an excuse to attack celebrities she only knows through interviews and tabloids, all under the guise of the most disingenuous positivity I've seen since Lily Singh. Immediately after Shallon acknowledges her lack of insider information, she proceeds to question Selena's entire diagnosis based on poor wording from a single interview.
And look, I don't know what she's like behind the scenes. She's a pretty private person, and we don't see her out and about the way we saw Britney Spears, who is kind of the poster child for bipolar disorder. I mean, we saw it. So, okay, let's talk about what bipolar is, and then you'll understand. You're like, oh yeah, that's Britney. Okay.
Why do you not edit this out, Shallon? She almost says more good things about Hitler than Selena Gomez in this video.
You know who wasn't all bad? Hitler. He was a delight at parties. I say this all the time. He loved animals. He was a very good artist.
God, it never changed, Shallon. Part of me actually wishes Shallon would drop the celebrity clickbait and shift to more generalized life advice videos, because even if you're wrong or misguided there, you're not spreading rumors disguised as facts that could potentially land you in hot water with Selena Gomez's lawyers. Oh wait, except her relationship advice is littered with questionable and downright predatory remarks? Oh yeah, that might be an issue. If you're wondering where this unnecessarily burning hatred for Selena Gomez is coming from, perhaps the framed photo of a shirtless Justin Bieber in her living room can serve as an indicator.
They latch onto one little loophole to enable their behavior. And if you guys keep doing that, she's not gonna make it to 27. She's just not. That's not how the human body can function. Selena was spotted doing shots at the Four Seasons Hotel. When? Right after Justin and Haley's engagement. Selena doesn't need a boyfriend. She needs another drink. She needs a fix. She needs some maybe vital organs. How's that pancreas doing, boo? But it gets worse.
Yeah, it would seem Shallon has more than a slight obsession.
I'd be probably Haley Baldwin. You know, I love her. I love her. And if you guys ever like tell me on Instagram that I look like her, I'm like, I screenshot it and I like save it full on my phone. I'm so pathetic. But like, she and I have the same hairstylist. And I was like, George, give me the Baldwin blonde. And he's like, Shallon, we've talked about this. She has a much darker skin. I was like, Baldwin blonde.
Fantasizing about his ex dying an early death and comparing herself to his wife Haley Baldwin is just par for the course. This fixation happens to date back to when he first hit the scene in 2010. Now, for context, this is what they each looked like at the time Shallon referenced a sex dream she had about the 15-year-old. If she had been a bit younger, maybe I'd be quicker to excuse this type of language, but you have to keep in mind that Shallon was not 18, 20, or even 25, but rather she was going on 30 years old at the time, around the same time she expressed an interest in flirting with 16-year-olds. Not to mention the tweets where she talks about A, ogling 16-year-olds, B, her unquelled fire for 16-year-olds, C, making out with high schoolers, and D, asking a 17-year-old to call her when he hits the age of consent. Now, I hate to drop this on you so suddenly, but I'm only using Shallon's own words here when I call her a cold-blooded predator. And trust me when I say this goes beyond just a few callous jokes she made on the internet 10 years ago, which in itself would be hard to overlook given her sheer age at the time. Even if these comments were in jest, she was old enough to have known better, but they weren't. In fact, if we put all this information together, you can see this dash of predatory behavior is perfectly in line with the Shallon we've all come to know and love over the past 50 minutes. It's pretty common knowledge amongst the Shallon entourage that Shallon tends to date younger guys. In fact, she recommends it. So much so that she dedicated an entire video to that very idea. And in an effort to not misinterpret her here, I think it's best to hear Shallon's thoughts right from her own mouth.
You should, however, be dating younger guys. I will tell you why. First of all, they're hotter. And I don't mean that as a joke. They're hotter. They have better abs. They have more hair in all the places that they should have a lot of hair. They're better in bed and more enthusiastic. For real. It's a misnomer that younger guys, finish quicker. Not true. And if they do, it's like an instantaneous reload. They're like an automatic weapon. Short bursts, bursting all night long. I don't feel the need to explain to anyone why I date younger guys, but I will explain it to you guys.
Shallon outlines a myriad of reasons why she prefers the company of younger men, whether it's because they've got better hairlines or last longer in bed. To me, there seems to be a deeper motive to why she does it. A motive that Shallon herself even explains in this video.
So my boyfriend is a lot younger, decade status, and he is one of the best dudes I've ever dated. And I historically have always dated younger guys. My boyfriend before him was 22. One before him was 21. Might have been a 20-year-old in there at some point. They're just kind of better boyfriends. How is that possible? The best breakup I ever had with someone was with my boyfriend who was 21 at the time. He didn't know enough to lie. I found that younger dudes take instruction better. And I really do think they take it better because I am older. It's like they know that they're going to have to work a lot harder to snag an older chick. So they're gonna like be on their best behavior. When I've called boys out, my younger boyfriends out on bad behavior, their response has shocked me. It's, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop doing that. They're adapting in a good way.
In essence, Shallon Lester seems to pride herself on a tendency to use naive, young men to her advantage, whether her goal be sexual in nature or otherwise.
Because I set boundaries. I'm like, don't do this. You don't waste my time. You don't bitch because I'm hanging out with other males. You don't do that. Or I can replace you. And they're, oh, that's my line. I told that to girls. Oh. Yeah, shoes on the other foot, my dude. It's not too cool, huh?
The fact of the matter is, if the gender roles were flipped and Shallon were a man expressing interest in girls as young as 17, this behavior probably would have been addressed a long time ago. But because of unfortunate stigmas that still exist today, Shallon gets an unspoken pass for effectively preying on younger men.
Say I'm 29. Maybe I don't want to even think about meeting the person I want to marry till I'm like 33, 34. Girl, you got some time. Use the time to just have fun and date somebody hotter with hair in the right places. People are set in their ways. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yo, let's get a puppy.
From the language she's exhibited in these twisted dating advice videos, the argument could be made that Shallon is encouraging older women to join her in pursuing younger men, on account that they're easier to manipulate in a relationship. Which is totally fine, because men are less likely to be sexually traumatized than women, right, Shallon?
I've done a lot of videos before on age gaps in dating and why dating older guys is so incredibly toxic. First of all, I know what you're gonna say. Shallon, you date younger dudes. I know that. But I don't date teenagers, first of all. I don't date teens. I have my limits.
Yeah, Kitty's like, you get predator face. And I've had people tell me this before. It's like my whole body like changes. I mean, but it works. He's so cute. Katie, how old do you think he is?
Optimistically 19. And I'll let you interpret optimistic whichever way you want.
Women but to such a lesser degree, have the ability to sexually traumatize a guy the way men can sexually traumatize women. Women are pleasers. We're hardwired by society to please guys.
Lock up your little brothers.
Boys, it's not really the same thing.
Today, we're gonna keep our eyes peeled for my prey. He's not 19. I bet he's like 20.
As you get older, I believe age gaps begin to matter less and less. A 40-year-old dating a 50-year-old is significantly more acceptable than a 20-year-old dating a 30-year-old, in my opinion. And although it could be said that everyone grows and matures at a different pace, the science is there to say that our brains are still not fully developed until our 20s. 21 for women and 25 for men. The prefrontal cortex continues to develop between 18 and 25, which is the part of your brain that inhibits impulses and organizes your behavior. So if our prefrontal cortex has an effect on the way we make decisions in our daily lives, it absolutely has an effect on the way we go about handling intimate relationships. Now, is there anything inherently wrong with an older woman dating a younger man? If it's legal, then no, not necessarily. It's irresponsible to make the sweeping statement that all men under the age of 25 are incapable of maintaining a healthy relationship with a woman a couple years their senior. I'm sure it works out for a lot of people. The problem I have with Shallon's approach is that she's looking to date younger men because of the aforementioned differences in maturity, not in spite of them. She enjoys the power that comes with being mentally dominant in a relationship. And because younger men tend to respond more diligently to orders, especially from an older woman, she's able to take full advantage of their naivete and otherwise lack of experience, and she knows it.
Hi, friends or enemies. This is Shallon. I am backstage at the Corporate Starship show with fantastic boys from the cab.
What's up?
Okay.
What up? Me and Cash laying in his bedroom as friends. And it's cool to be on like a great tour, but it's even better to be on a great tour with like your best friends.
Okay, how many girls have you guys shagged / do you anticipate shagging for the duration of the tour?
Actually -4. We're 18. We don't do those things.
Exactly, you're 18. You guys don't even know what STDs are.
Me and
Alex and Lindsay were canoodling At some point during the VMAs.
I'm the fourth guy to come out about Lindsay Lohan and about the experiences we've shared, so I'm not going to say much. The details are going to be kept secret, but...
They'll be kept secret until the ST comes back, and then I think everyone's going to know everything, okay? So, you should just come clean right now.
You're playing with my hair.
Am I?
You just call me adorable. Is it because I'm 18? Am I like a little kid adorable?
No.
Would Lindsay Lohan think so?
You are actually older than most of the boys I date.
I'm sorry.
17 is the legal age of consent in New York, people. It's a fact. I looked it up.
Author, editor, predator.
With the callous nature of Shallon's delivery, it was only a matter of time before the knives came close to her throat, which is an issue since Shallon's response to criticism has been lackluster at best and downright disingenuous at worst. Many of Shallon's shortcomings were projected to an entirely new audience the second D'Angelo Wallace dropped one of the first videos ever made on our good friend. She was quick to privatize her Twitter and sub count, offering this comment as justification. She says her fans are under 18, but brags about putting spells on people.
She could have come up with a nice lie. She told me the truth. She said, Andy said he doesn't dance with dogs. I come from a long line of witches, very powerful, mystical women. And, you know, a baby snake is the most dangerous snake because a baby snake doesn't yet know how to control its venom. So when it gets mad, it just spits all of it out, and it's the most deadly. And I, that night, was a baby snake. A little witchy curse went his way. He's had cancer twice. His brother killed himself. I'm not a dog. I'm a witch.
But despite everything thrown her way, Shallon's rebuttal barely consisted of a few vague paragraphs callously outlined in a Reddit post, which I can't find anymore. I'm pretty sure it's been deleted, but I could be wrong. Would make sense on account of the post being utter fucking garbage, but of all the ridiculous assertions made throughout the post, which you can pause to read, the biggest outlier here happens to be the fact that she doesn't address anything in her past videos. She only clarifies that she's willing to move in a more positive direction going forward, which yeah, I'd love to see, personally. Shallon can be entertaining and has the potential to make decent content, I guess. But if you're going to make an entire post seemingly addressing the problems people have with you, maybe you should start by saying something about the Pete video, or the Ellen video, or the numerous videos on Selena Gomez, or the bizarre and creepy comments you've repeatedly made on young dudes, or, you know, just not lie about D'Angelo Wallace doxing you on Twitter.
Someone in the comments asked her to provide proof for her very serious allegation that I doxed her by releasing her personal phone number and home address on my Twitter, which is obviously illegal in this context. And Shallon responds in that comment and goes on to clarify she can't provide proof because A, she doesn't feel comfortable posting her information here, which, by the way, she could just blur it if she wanted to prove that I did tweet that. B, Twitter has already removed it. C, a police report has been filed and legal action is now pending. And D, she's under legal advice not to talk about it, which is obviously untrue because here she is talking about it publicly. But as you notice, she said, Twitter removed my post. That means that my tweet with her home address and phone number was on my Twitter account with 25,000 plus followers long enough for Twitter to find it and delete it after she reported it. And none of my followers saw it because she has said that she's filed a police report and that legal action is being taken, but I can assure you no such thing has happened.
By the way, you are absolutely anything but new to this profession. Just doesn't make any sense to go out of your way to make this grandiose statement towards your fans without even so much as acknowledging the specific problems people have had with your videos. Predatory language regarding 17-year-olds during your late 20s isn't exactly a lame tweet. That's something that deserves more of an explanation, at least. Instead, she's merely writing it off as ruffling of feathers, which says nothing at the end of the day. All it tells me is that Shallon herself is incapable of offering a fierce rebuttal to any of the assertions she makes, and is more willing to construct a new reality for herself than address any type of genuine criticism.
So when you leave a comment saying, I'm a bitch, you hope I die in a fire. First of all, comments make me money. I make money on every single comment that's posted. You know that? That's true. And also, all you're doing is telling YouTube, hey, this video is getting a lot of views. So you're making me money in that sense too. And guess what? Instagram works the exact same way. Every DM, every comment, every time you even report a video for no reason, that puts a ping on your account because Instagram and YouTube says, okay, this person's full of shit. They're reporting something that isn't offensive, and so we're not going to listen to them anytime they report something. You become the girl who cried wolf. So keep it up. Keep making me money.
Going forward, I hope to see Shallon move in a more positive direction, not even in terms of rhetoric necessarily, just from a more personal standpoint. Shallon strikes me as an extremely insecure individual, doomed to the realm of celebrity gossip while seemingly encouraging others to make terrible decisions that justify her own dubious behavior along the way. Shallon belongs to a reality detached from the one you or I know, one that's built haphazardly on speculations and outright lies molded to fit lucrative narratives that ring true within Shallon's own imagination. Her blatant incapacity for showing accountability speaks wonders to me, and if Shallon truly wants to help the people who watch her videos, I can only hope she'll learn to take criticism with open arms. If you want to build your brand around good vibes and positivity, you can't just go around asserting such bizarre claims about people you already dislike, especially with the minimal level of authentication Shallon seems to have. As it stands, Shallon Lester is not an advocate for mental health, she's not an advocate for truth, she's an advocate for herself, and nothing more.